I'm Lion Runner at Reviews and Revisits on YouTube and Instagram. Welcome to the kingdom of the planet of the apes.
We will learn. Apes will learn. I will learn. And I will conquer.
I'm going to posit a thesis to you. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is the movie you should be seeing in theaters right now, above all others. Kingdom continues the sci-fi saga of 2014 and 2017 Planet of the Apes movies. But for once in modern movie making, Kingdom really gets a sequel, threequel, or continuing story in a franchise right, from both the storytelling as well as an overall movie making standpoint. Also, you don't have to be a sci-fi fan at all, nor be in love with the Apes franchise to enjoy it. I'm only marginally a fan of either. This movie is as much for anyone who enjoys a hero's journey odyssey in any realm, or a tale of rebellion and overcoming government or dynastic repression. You don't need to have even seen either of the first two movies in the current continuity of Apes movies to get this one, though it would certainly help for those who have to have greater context and meaning with what's happening in Kingdom. Nonetheless, the beauty of this threequel is that it is its own story. It would be how watching A New Hope, as you saw it, if you saw it before the prequels, there are things referenced in there about Anakin, the Clone Wars, the Jedi, the Republic that used to be, that didn't stop us from completely following and understanding the movie we were watching and actually created intrigue about those things. That's what you would have here if you had not seen 2014 and 2017 Apes movies. Along with it being a cinematic wonder of breathtaking atmospheric visuals and realistic looking and feeling humanoid apes, it is this story we want to talk about. Kingdom does what few epic sagas of throwing off government or foreign invader oppression achieve, and that being able to set up an oppression that's strong but not insurmountable, and then more importantly, show a credible rebellion effective, rather than a super being or a tiny band of super beings that take down the entirety of a mass oppressor with their sheer will and magic. These two things, Kingdom having its own self contained story that builds on the continuity of the past films and without retconning them to make the new story fit, and having a pretty rare credible rebellion, make this a standout film worth supporting in the theaters. Then you're further rewarded with a visual spectacle best taken in on a huge screen. The story starts a few generations on from Caesar and centers around a late high school, early adult age equivalent chip named Noah and his clan in the deep forest. Not only is Noah not a special conquering super figure or some special conquering super fighter, as I noted here in my written review on Instagram, the protagonist isn't an untouchable super warrior. He actually gets his tail kicked twice by two different apes. Story realism that you'll seldom see in any kind of action adventure movie. And this story realism leads to a much more credible story and portrayal that you can buy into. He also runs from his nemesis, the chief warrior, on a third occasion to avoid another one on one combat where he knew he would lose. Noah and his fellows contend with their oppressor through cunning, spirit, intellectual prowess, and a heart for the well being of their people, and that it gives them the determination to dare. But they don't contend against them by personal power, magic, and mystique. So, getting back to the thesis, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is the movie that you should be seeing in theaters. And we can look at some of these other movies that are available in theaters right now. There's Furiosa, the Mad Max saga with no Mad Max, Garfield movie. Those cartoon movies are usually big. Got another one, another children's movie with Ryan Reynolds and If. You got the Fall Guy that's out, meant to be another big blockbuster, 170 million dollar film, something of that nature. Uh, and even going on down to Godzilla versus Kong or Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire is still out. And maybe there are some more movies that you might see down the list, Ghostbusters, Kung Fu Panda, that are that was set up and meant to be blockbusters that you might consider. But I would tell you that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, while it's still in theaters, it's at number 4 right now, is the one, if none other, that you should be returning to the theaters to see. Again, it is this vast story that it portrays in the way that it portrays it. You get realism of the ape, the protagonist and his clan being set up with their rituals, and you begin to even get to care something about this particular protagonist, and even in the short time before they're attacked, and you're not sure who the opposing party is at first, or why they are opposing party. And then there's this third wrinkle thrown in there. There's another entity that's thrown in. And this is really well done to bring you a movie that I think just has a lot of depth to it beyond what most movies that we'll see these days will have. And this is very important because, again, it's not just a movie like we see with so many that just throw archetypes at you. They just try to set up what they think should be the type of thing that should be interesting. We've got us a villain, and we've got us an antagonist to the protagonist, and we've got this great power, and this is going to be the next big thing, and you're supposed to care about the protagonist just because we say so. And here's a villain, and no, this is just a movie. We're just going to throw it at you. But no, you have real stakes, and you have real depth of character and depth of why each of these entities have a stake in the game, and what their goals are, and why they are trying um, to set up dominance, or why they are trying to overcome and just have their slice of the world unabated by others. But at the same time, you have these different factions that must fear each other, and there are good reasons. You have the humans versus the apes, and then you also have the apes versus the other apes. Those of different philosophies. There are those who believe that they can coexist with humans. There are those who believe that humans must be wiped out, and there are just those who are maybe not even concerned with wiping them out, but just do believe that they should at least be separate. Humans should have their own, and the apes should have their own. And there's all kinds of allegory here, of course. But even without thinking too much about the allegory, just taking it on the face value of what's happening in this movie, again, there's a lot of depth. And then they sneak in a kind of third that 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 third conflicting entity where you don't really see exactly where she's coming from initially, where this third entity is coming from, and you don't. It is not very predictable where it's going either. That's another thing that makes the movie very strong. It's not, again, one of those predictable scripts that we often see. We know exactly what's going to happen, and we don't even really care because it's so obvious and it's so been done and overdone before. I think this movie, Planet of the Apes, returns most closely to the original Planet of the Apes. Um, not in the story itself. Obviously, they're not going to another planet where the humans encounter apes on their own planet, and then realize what they realize at the end. But this one is it's kind of just thematically more parallel with the considerations that are at hand. And then you don't have in this movie, this franchise, which is really great, is you're not having one of those situations where you have the girl boss come in and the girl boss it up. There is a strong a strong female character, but she doesn't usurp the protagonist. She doesn't usurp the male protagonist, nor does she do they use her in any kind of way to destroy the legacy male protagonist. So that is all kept intact. And that's another great thing about this film. It keeps the legacy intact and builds upon it with its own self contained story. And then the great thing is at the end, it leaves you with a cliffhanger about another aspect and wondering what's going to happen. But it's not a situation like with what is the movie I'm thinking, Doom Part 1, where people kind of complain that it wasn't a contained movie, it didn't have a finish. No, the critical issue of this movie is resolved within this movie. However, at the same time, there is a window, there is another lane that is opened up with the conclusion of the movie that makes you wonder, oh, wow, what's going to be next? You actually want a fourth movie in this franchise. You actually want to see where this world progresses. And that's the great thing about this. That was a lot of the reason why people were having a problem with Furiosa, is even though they say it's a good movie in and of itself, but the fact that they're going backwards in the story. It's another prequel. They're not expanding the story and continuing it forward, and people are kind of getting tired of that with a lot of these franchises. This story leaves the door open. Well, this movie itself, the one that's out right now, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, is a continuation of the story. Again, it starts some decades after the time of Caesar, and then it sets up for the next phase of where this world goes and how this world of apes and humans evolves. And you're actually very interested for them to make a fourth movie so you can see where it goes. You want to see that movie. Actually, I hope that movie comes within a couple of years, no more than 3, and they don't do like Furiosa, wait 9 years and let the momentum get away from it. So there are just a lot of laudable aspects of this film, and if we have a film that does what we want films to do, as opposed to the so many of them that aren't doing what we want them to do, we should support them in the theaters and make sure that they make money. And also, you're just going to have a good, enjoyable time, right? It's a visually gripping and enthralling movie that brings you in to the deep forest of where they are, and then when they're in the kingdom of the planet of the apes and the water and everything, and they're in the huge leftover ship or whatever that is, it's all really great. You want to see it on the big screen. You want to experience it and feel it and get the full feel of it. Maybe take you in a late afternoon, early evening movie if you're not trying to deal with a bunch of people and teenagers. Go on a weekday and see it at 3, 4, 5 o'clock time frame, and you don't have to really worry about too many teenagers or any being there. If that's how you have to go to the movies, because you don't want to deal with some of the rude people and stuff like that. There's usually not too many people in theaters, especially for a film that's in its third, fourth, fifth week. You're not going to have a lot of people in there, so you don't have those problems. You get the best seats. You sit where you want to, and I think you'll really enjoy this film. You'll really enjoy the depth that it has and the story that it brings you. I think it really does a great job again of having a legitimate rebellion develop, that is credible, that could really happen kind of the way it does. And again, the way they bring in the strong female character, I think really works, because she doesn't come in with power and might, and she initially plays up her femininity and her docileness, and it's her being docile that actually works to her advantage. Because if that was a male, the way she had to interact with the other antagonist slash protagonist that she had to deal with, if that was a male, though, the other counterparties would not have dealt with her with that kind of compassion. They have more compassion with it being a docile female, being reserved and slight and playing up her femininity. And so that actually works in that kind of way. So that was actually a very well written usage of that character. Then you see more of who she really is later in the movie, and what her strengths are and what her abilities are. And then that's really good, because it's not about her. It's not about pretending like a 105-pound woman is the same as a 220-pound linebacker of a man, and having her beat up the people. She uses skills and ability, and thinking and cunning, as well as does the main male protagonist. Again, because he gets whooped physically. He's not the super warrior hero type. He actually brings a lot of heart and has to do a lot of thinking, and bring some skills to the table that allow him to contend with the antagonist of the movie, and go against these other ape faction to save his clan, or to try to save his clan. So go take in the movie, see what happens. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I'm Lion Runner, again, with reviews and revisits. On Instagram, it's reviews_and_revisits. Visit me there. Look for the link below the video. And I hope you'll like and subscribe to this video. Help me move through the algorithm. I'd really appreciate that. And I'll catch you on the next one.